Hi, I'm Kat, marketer turned brand storyteller,
And I'm Candice, educator turned entrepreneur.
and you're listening to
Not nice, clever.
We're two introverts who speak on stages around the country and work with top personal brands who also unapologetically require 24 to 48 hours of recovery time on the couch in our favorite sweats. All Netflix and no chill.
And to be clear, we're not quiet or nice. Together, we're redefining what it means to be an introvert who means business. It's time to show up and show off. Are you in? In today's episode of Not Nice Clever, we are creating an introvert's guide to putting yourself out there because Kat and I have both had a lot of conversations with clients and even friends who have shared with us how getting started feels pretty uncomfortable, especially when it comes to building your brand and just putting yourself in situations that you're not used to being in. And so we wanted to create a space where it's normal to feel uncomfortable when you're putting yourself out there, and we also want to give you ideas of ways that you can put yourself out there that have varying levels of exposure with your face and your voice and just give you different opportunities. Some are more baby steps than others that we know work when it comes to brand building. So I'll let Kat take it from here.
Thank you. So, yes, overall, we want you to start where you are. Like, just start. Like, you don't have to build a massive brand and be on stages around the country like Candice and I are tomorrow. That's okay. That's not realistic, but we want you to start where you are. So, think of it in terms of two ways that you can build your brand and connect with people. You can do it online and you can do it offline. And when it comes to building your brand online, there is leveraging your voice in the form of written content, right? The written word in blogs, in LinkedIn articles, in email newsletters. You guys know we both are a huge fan of email newsletters. We know there's power and ROI there. And then there's voice in video in the form of voiceovers, right? Your voice is super unique. It is like a fingerprint and it is as unique as your face. And so that's another way that you can connect online. And then the third way is packs the punch. It's the 1-2 punch. It's what will get you the results the quickest, but probably make you the most uncomfortable is using both your voice and your face in video. It's Candice's preferred method. It's one that I, in full transparency, worked up to, but so did Candice because we're not born perfect on camera, or I shouldn't say perfect. We weren't born natural on camera. It took time to build up to that. And then, of course, in person, right? You get the voice, you get the face, you get the vibe, you get the energy. So we share this framework and we'll share ideas and examples of how we've used this, but there's so many different ways that you can put yourself out there. It's not just the typical way that you might think of. And so I think that's really important to share.
I think that when people see themselves as introverts, like you and I, Kat, they often think certain things aren't for them. So, because I'm an introvert, video is not for me. And actually, in my personal experience, what I found is that video is really liberating because I do have a limited social battery. I know that I could take 10 minutes to make a video, and that video is going to be in front of hundreds or thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of people and connect with them, even when I don't have the social battery to connect. And I've found that that really allows me to leverage my time and leverage my social battery so
Mhm.
that I can still be in front of people, even if I happen to be laying on the couch watching Dateline.
Which she is often, clever crew, often.
Exactly. And so that's what I want people to understand is that sometimes you think video is maybe big and scary because you feel uncomfortable looking at yourself, listening to yourself. And I get it. I feel those same ways at times as well.
Mhm.
But when I think about the return on my investment, I see how significant it is and I see how impactful it is on my brand, on my business, on my network, and I choose to go that route because it is the fastest way to all of the things that I want.
Yes. And, it's funny. To this day, when people ask me, like, how would you describe yourself or what do you see yourself as? It's literally in the intro of this podcast. I feel like I'm a storyteller. And that takes so many different iterations, right? That looks differently and has looked differently throughout my career. And one thing I think I've shared this in like past episodes, but I have been writing since I was like in the third grade, like the third or fourth grade. I remember really taking to poetry. I remember really taking to creative writing. The first book series that I ever read was the Harry Potter series. I literally bullshit my way through every book report before my dad sat me down one summer and was like, "So you're grounded." I was like, "But I have A's." He's like, "I know you're bullshitting it. Like, you're grounded. You're going to sit and read all 4, like, Harry Potter books that had come out at that point in time. Maybe it was, like, the first 3, and I literally binged them like a Netflix show. A, because it meant freedom so that I could spend my summer the way I wanted, but B, because it was just such an incredible escape. And so when I think back now, like, I'm so grateful that my dad did that because I have been writing by the time I got to my early 20s and realized I could get paid for copywriting, like, paid for marketing, I had been writing for the better part of a decade. And so when I started my career in marketing, I didn't start by making videos, which I think at that point in time, Candice, would have probably looked like starting a YouTube channel because, or doing Facebook Lives, right? Like I
Yeah,
think, that would have been what it
the
looked like at that
timeline,
point in
yeah.
time. Exactly. But I started out as a copywriter. I started out getting paid by local businesses to draft their ad copy, to write their emails, to, find ways to get people in the door. And that was starting where I was. I was doing it for other people and I was seeing results. And later I did it for myself. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I really actually prefer writing versus speaking, that's okay. You can build the speaking muscle like I have, together with this podcast and doing workshops, but start where you are and like start with writing. Like that could be something powerful. But I think one note that you brought up that's important to remember is that just expressing yourself in the written word will take longer to see results
Yeah,
simply because it's not as powerful as using your face and your actual voice.
that's it. I think what we're really talking about here is developing your thought leadership.
Mm,
And that's super important if you want to build your brand. Like, what are the pillars that you stand on? What are the frameworks that you operate with? Because those things are ultimately like your own intellectual property,
yeah.
and that makes you valuable. And that's what we really want for you to understand is that you have something of valuable that you know, or a process that you follow, or some type of framework that you share regularly that you might not even realize right now, that
Hmm.
if you put into words or if you put into video, if you share, can help you to position yourself as the expert, as the thought leader, as the go to person. It's just going to take commitment to continuously sharing that thing.
That's probably the mistake that we see clients make more often than not. It's not that like they fight us when we say like, let's get your ass on camera. It's, we're like, okay, cool. Many ways to skin a cat. Let's get you started with email, right? 42 to 1 ROI there. Cool. You don't want to be on camera? Great. But what we do not allow, what we really recommend against is constantly changing whatever approach it is every couple weeks. You'll
Right.
try something for a couple weeks, no results. Oh, I put this on story twice and I didn't get any response. It takes time. Anything is successful if it takes time. I know, Candice, you've heard that rebuttal too from clients.
It takes time and consistency, and I would say a minimum of 6 months of commitment to anything that you decide, whether that's weekly blogging or creating video content. It has to be super consistent, and minimum of 6 months before you start feeling like maybe it's working.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are responding to you, maybe some people are starting to share, and I think that's what makes the difference between someone who's gonna be successful and someone who isn't, is just the time in the game.
Yeah. I think it's been a bit, and maybe it isn't because, my concept of time and what is time anyway. I think we're all just living in the matrix. But it's been a bit since we've shared a dating analogy. And I feel like a dating analogy could be really helpful here. So,
Okay, what do you got, Kat?
okay, well, introvert here, right? Like, oh my gosh, guys, let me tell you, I tried to avoid Will for months. Try like furtive glances across the restaurant because we worked at the same restaurant. I handled the marketing and private events, and he was the executive chef there. Avoiding him, trying to not have that meet cute and be that cliche and all of this and all, but like It happened. It worked. Like I saw him day after day. He was constantly trying to do nice things for me, like finding ways to be in the room with me and near me. Like he knew, right? He's also an introvert. He just like is a very committed man, which I appreciate about him, right? It took 3 months for him to even get me on a first date. And actually, he had to get one of the team members at the restaurant to say, "Yeah, come out for my birthday. We're all going to meet at this bar for a nightcap." I was like, "Who's going to be there?" He's like, "Nobody, just us." Da da da. Liar. And Will showed up. And then, like, literally, we got to talking. And before I'd even gotten home yet, he found me on Facebook and sent me a Facebook message. And then, we started dating. And then COVID happened and that accelerated things. But, like, my whole point is imagine if after me ignoring him after the first 2 weeks, if he just gave up, if he was like, "Well, she's not interested.
Right.
I'm just going to give up." Oh my gosh, how much more boring would my life? I mean, my life would probably be cool, but it's better together with him. And so it's like, imagine that, guys. Like your brand is other people are interacting with it, right? It's a form of building a relationship. You
Mhm.
don't give up on a relationship after 2 weeks unless it's like horrible and there's all the red flags, honey, and then we want you to step away. But can you imagine?
No, it's about deciding what you want and committing to that and then not taking let's get off the dating thing because I don't want
Okay,
this to
yeah.
get weird. But, like, it's deciding what you want and going for it and not taking no for an answer.
Hmm.
Obviously, in dating, yes, you take no for an answer, but in
Oh, yes.
other
Yes, I understand why you have that caveat. Yeah.
but yes, but in this case, when it comes to your brand building, is like not taking no for an answer. So
Yeah.
you're gonna show up consistently and you are going to do whatever form of content creation makes the most sense for you for where you are today
Hmm.
and allow yourself to grow.
Yep.
You're out there building your personal brand and you also have a team relying on you. But if your people don't know how to fish for themselves, the burden of new business always falls on you. Ouch, no thanks.
The opportunity we see, teach your team how to generate their own business.
The result, more time and energy back in your day so you can scale sans burnout.
Amplify by Not Nice Clever is the ace up your sleeve, a hands-on workshop full of replicable frameworks and actionable strategies that your team can put in place right away.
Your job? Sit back and let us work our magic.
Even CEOs need help sometimes. We've got you. Head to our show notes to get the deets. #outsourced. Also, what I just did too, this is what helped me when I really started embarking upon a different phase of my brand building journey, which was speaking, which, by the way, started with you, Candice, when we co hosted a breakout session at a mastermind in New York in April of 2022.
Is that when it started for you?
For me, that was the
That's
first
crazy.
time I had been paid to speak to an audience with a presentation. And thank God I was not up there alone because I feel like you catch me coming back from the tangents, which you literally just did now with the dating analogy. Like, guys, so much changes and yet so much is the same. So one thing I started doing, because I got in my head about being an introvert and speaking, and I literally just Googled famous speakers who are introverts.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Who do we got?
Barack Obama.
Oh, wow.
Y'all,
Interesting.
former, and I wish he could be current leader of the free world, literally is an introvert. And how powerful of a speaker is set aside whatever like politics you might hold, just judge him purely for his speaking capabilities.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Bill Gates is another one. Emma Watson. There
Is
we go.
Brene Brown, is she on that list?
Let's
I wonder if
see.
she's an introvert.
Albert Einstein was another.
I can't I feel like maybe she might have said she's an introvert before, but maybe
Yep. Brene is a
yeah.
self described introvert just like us. Oh my God. And I
Yep.
love her and she's incredible. She's an incredible speaker. Her Netflix
She
special, have you
is.
seen that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
Right?
For me, I think that part of me being an introvert, what feels good is speaking is not small talk. I get to choose the topic. It's something I'm
Mm,
interested in, and I'm giving away what I believe and know is valuable. And so I'm not wasting anyone's time. They've chosen to be there. And that makes me feel differently about speaking because it's not what I would probably normally perceive if it's just like a random conversation as like a
yeah.
waste of time in my introvert social battery life.
Girl, I have never heard you like frame it quite that way, but that is so true. Like you cut right to the chase. Like Literally earlier today, I was preparing a keynote that I'm going to give in Dallas, and the organizer is like, "You've got 20 to 25 minutes, and then we're going to follow by 10 minutes of Q&A where I'm going to like poke holes in your presentation." I was like, "Ooh, I love that. I love a challenge."
Yeah.
But like, damn, 25 minutes where all of the knowledge I have, I'm like, let me pick one thing, make it a story, like really make it tangible too and tactical. Wow.
Mhm.
Thank you. I love that. Also, Clever Crew, I hope you're listening and taking notes.
Yeah. So if you are thinking that one day you would like to speak, even
Hmm.
if you're an introvert, there is a whole list of people on Google who are also introverts and amazing, incredible speakers.
Yes.
And yours truly loves speaking, even though I don't like generally talking to people.
I have very discerning, I say discerning instead of picky because it makes me feel better, standards about who I talk to and who I spend my time with. But again, voice in writing, voice in video as a voiceover, your voice in your face. Like, even though the perception is that, like, oh my God, you're out there, you're out there, you're out there, you're really not. Because do you guys think when you go to Netflix and you binge season 3 of Bridgerton, which I may or may not have done earlier this week, do you really think that those actors even realize that I'm binging that show? No, they're like off in Ibiza, they're off in Colombia, they're off like living their best life. They're probably doing press tours, actually, to be fair. But like, they are not aware of the fact that I am binging 8 hours worth of their content.
Yeah.
The same thing can be true if you create content like that, and then it can be binged on repeat and it's valuable. It's solving a problem. Bridgerton also solves a problem. It's different than maybe what your personal brand solves, but the framework is the same. I'm just trying to figure out whatever analogy is going to convince somebody to start taking action. Like, that's in my analogy,
That's
like
really what we're here
magic
for.
hat, really, truly.
So, what other things do you think you had to get over, Kat, to start putting yourself out there?
My perfectionist tendencies.
Mhm.
Perfectionism is huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's cultural for me. Being imperfect is seen as a sign of weakness. It's seen as being improper. We've even seen this when we did our podcast photo shoot together, the one we did in Vegas last year, and you were like trying to get me to be like looser and like more energy and like all of this, and I was like being very proper and kind of reserved, and
Mhm.
just getting over the fact that perfect's an illusion, deleting that from my vocabulary, deleting perfect from my vocabulary, and being okay with people seeing my mistakes and thinking to myself, if I put myself out there in a messy way and I make a mistake, that's okay because somebody else is going to see it and they're going to learn from it. And then it's going to save them from making that same mistake. They might make their own mistakes, whatever, because we're all imperfect human beings and we all have different skill sets and talents. But like, me putting myself out there is going to help somebody else avoid some agony. Like, I can take a hit for the team. Like, that framework
Mhm.
helped me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you?
I think one thing that helped me was I remember when we had a client at Sell It who sold like $200 billion in real estate, billion with a B. And I was getting on a call with him
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
and
Okay.
I was like, I was like, what am I going to teach this man who's already sold 200 billion with a B
Mm-hmm.
dollars in real estate? Like, I've never done that. What could I possibly teach him?
Mm.
And I get on the call with him, and turns out I could teach him a whole lot of things about marketing and branding, an entire world of things that he had not yet implemented in his business and would make that 200 billion even more.
Yeah.
And in addition, like this client just like had the heart of gold and loved all of his people on his team, was so happy every time he got to see me. Okay, Candice, I remember exactly what you said on our last call, and my team's implementing this, and we're still struggling with that. And what do you recommend we, where do you recommend we go from here? And he was so involved and appreciative and excited to learn new things in his business that had
Yeah.
been very well established already, that I was like, oh, it's not about someone who I perceive being more successful than me not being able to learn from me. It's like I have a different skill set than that person, and my skill set could be complementary to them. And in that, I could probably also learn a ton from just being around him and seeing how he operated with his team. And when I realized that it's not about a person's level of success, it's about your ability to solve a problem that they don't yet know how to solve. That really changed the game for me because I realized that I didn't have to be intimidated by anyone because my skill set and my experience is unique.
Mhm.
And I know that it can be valuable in a lot of situations.
Absolutely. Everybody has something to teach someone,
Mhm.
whether it is by contrast, by example, by strategy. Like it does not matter your accolades. You have something to teach somebody that somebody doesn't understand, that you've learned from your own experience, your own wisdom, your own, you know, journey. That's a really cool story. I had not thought about that client in a long time because I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, learned a lot from that situation.
Right? And then what do?
Mhm.
You go and because we say like content is a form of conversation and we get inspired from the very conversations we have from clients. So then it basically told us where we could create content that said, hey, if you've been in business for 10 years, you might be experiencing these signs and symptoms of your business plateauing, of it becoming
Yeah.
inefficient, of you not leveraging these newer marketing channels. Here's some things that you can do to start to modernize and update your business and make it relevant again.
Yep.
And we wouldn't have done
Absolutely.
that.
Because of the experience.
Yeah. Wouldn't have
Yeah.
done that if we hadn't had that experience. Yeah. Oh, that was a good one.
Ryan asks us shit all the time too. So,
Actually, yeah, that's
there
true. I literally have a meeting with him tomorrow.
you
We're
go.
going to strategize how to make like the program where you and I or work together where we need to make it even better because you know what?
Yeah.
He doesn't fucking have the bandwidth to strategize. He
Yeah.
can bring the real
Right.
life examples from his day-to-day experience, but he doesn't spend time with the clients like we do. So like where you collaborate and you bring his perspective and insight and then ours, get so much better
Yep.
shit out of that.
So much better. And I think that those are some of the things that make us remember that it's worthwhile to put ourselves out there because
Mhm.
you never know what you have that someone else is looking for. And if you make yourself easily searchable, if they
Yes.
can see your thought leadership, then you can easily make those connections.
Oh, okay. And here's the last reframe that I want to leave with because I know the introverts, the recovering people pleasers in our clever crew. I want you to think about this because Candice and I know if you start to put yourself out there in whatever ways that we have shared, you will find somebody who was like, thank God I found this, or I found you, or thank you so much. Okay. And you helped them when they thought that there wasn't anybody that understood what they were going through. They thought that they were going to have to figure it out by themselves, which only increased their feelings of loneliness. Okay. Like literally, that person right now will never get to experience having their problem solved if you don't show up for them. So, like, rude. So, let's not be rude.
Let's not be rude.
Let's not be rude.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's not gatekeep. You got to put
No
everything out there.
gatekeeping. Yes. Only good things come from it.
Truly.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Not Nice Clever. If you feel like a friend needs to also hear this, feel free to share it and leave us a 5-star review, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on Not Nice, Clever.
Remember to follow our podcast wherever you listen to audio.
And if you found today's episode valuable, please share it with your friends.
No gatekeeping here. Remember, we love to see our clever crew grow.
Signing off, you're not so nice, but oh so clever besties that mean business.
See you soon.